I'm joined today by Mr. Nathan Prescott.
Hello, good evening.
And I'm joined by a man who some have described, mainly himself, as a wizard, Mr. Jonathan Etland. Hi, John.
Hey, man.
How are you? Great to have you
Super
back.
good.
Great.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
Oh, good. I'm excited to talk to both of you. Let's just get on with it. Let's get on with the show. Before we do that, though, I just want to say thank you to everyone on Patreon. Yeah, got some new Patreons this week. I've been doing my daily videos.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine you've watched 0 of them, Nath.
I watched half of one.
Perfect. Shit. John, have you seen any?
What?
Have you seen any of my daily videos? Okay. Really positive.
Honest-wargamer.
Yeah. It's in the title, but I don't
I just
like
got
it.
back, man.
Pardon
Don't
me?
stress me. I just got back, man. Don't
Yeah, you don't
stress
want
me.
to chase them away just yet.
Yeah, fucking zoomer.
Okay, all right. So, fucking hell. Okay, so yes, welcome to the show. So I've been doing daily videos, and so I think a bunch of people have joined Patreon because of that, which I'm really happy about. That was the point. I hope you're enjoying them. If you think there are ways I can make them better, not you two dickheads. Yeah,
I've been doing daily videos.
do daily videos. Wanking off men. I'm trying to look at the Twitch chat, but I can't see it. It's not working. It's triggering me. So thank you to everyone on Patreon is what I'm trying to say. Thank you to everyone who is a subscriber on Twitch. And if you listen to the podcast, do you remember what to say, Nath?
Fuck you and your whole crew.
No, it's a whole different podcast. John, any thoughts? Do you remember?
What do you say to the people on the Patreon?
On the podcast. It's gonna be
On the pod?
Doesn't even listen to the one that he's in.
This is a train wreck start to finish. I don't even know if people on Twitch can see us. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, thanks for being there. So thanks for being there. That's it. That's all I've got. Stay hydrated, podcast people. Nathan, Jonathan, you're fired. I'll pay you less, which will be below 0. Hey, Daniel! Right, so we're live in the studio on Monday, and we're going to talk about Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Cool.
Yeah, because it's back. It's back, baby. How do you feel about that?
Back with a vengeance.
It's back with that. Yeah, back with a vengeance. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the two things we're going to talk about today are obviously the announcement of the old world returning, and we are going to talk about what Jonathan's return to Age of Sigmar. So we're going to talk to him, and we're going to do like a refresher course for everyone who wants to come back into the hobby because they've been away for a while, or leading up to Christmas, you're thinking about making new purchases. I thought we'd have a long conversation about the things that you could do and what you might buy. And if you're new and have never played Age of Sigmar before, this might be a good kind of like jump off point for how to get into the hobby and what to do.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Sounds great. It's a good time of year to buy turkeys. So.
There's so much advice. But before we get into how Jonathan is, how is Nathan Prescott? How have you been this week?
I've been good. I missed the show last week, so I don't know what happened last week.
The roof fell in and we did not do the show.
Oh.
Yep. Some more hole.
Some more. I thought those people had moved out.
No,
so
more
they're
hole.
Still dropping stuff through the ceiling.
Yeah, it's not going well. The roof. John, do you remember when you were here?
Yep.
And
He doesn't really
parts of it.
remember.
yeah, and the hole was not great, right?
It's not fantastic.
Are you listening to the show while you're on the show, or are you doing something else? I'm not 100% certain.
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm just trying to type. Fucking doesn't work. Okay. Well,
Thank you, Tough Lucky, by the way, for subscribing for 2 months. I want to say also thank you to Liam Jordan for subscribing for 15 months.
Wow.
Liam Jordan is helping organise a new Warhammer Age of Sigmar event with Mr. Mark Wildman, Murder in the Midlands.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. Midsummer Murder in the Midlands is its name.
That's a great movie. You should watch that. I recommend it.
I will. Thank you.
isn't it like 15 movies of murder in the midsummer?
No. That's the English one. No, the Swedish one is great. Just called Midsummer. About the cult thing.
Oh,
in
yeah,
Sweden.
that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah,
Is that a Swedish movie?
It's new. Yeah. I mean, midsummer is a Swedish holiday, right?
Yeah.
Where we dance around the penis.
Oh God!
You sure do.
It's called War in the Heartlands. We were not even close to what it's called. Crazy Horse, thanks for subscribing for 3 months. You gorgeous man. Right, Nathan, how have you been for the past week? Please let me know.
Been great.
And you played any Age of Sigmar?
I think the last games I played were against you. Your proxy oligarch, those guys.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that, have we? Oh boy, Phil, thank you for subscribing, by the way. Squig emojis when? I agreed. John, when are the squig emojis happening? That's a great question. John, he's in the chat. John Scrivens, when are the squig emojis happening? Squig. Okay. Yeah, we played OCR Bone Reapers, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I had an evening of playing OCR Bone Reapers versus Mark Wildman. Then I played you all day with some Bone Reapers. And then that's helped me do a bunch of rundowns, which are going out this week, where I was really... Mortek Guard are clearly good. But I was super impressed by the Kavalos Death Riders. Yeah. What were your thoughts playing against them? Because you played against two versions of the...
I played against them. Yeah, I thought the horses were good. Gave you a bit of movement because the guard were quite slow, weren't they? Although they just got bogged down in the middle. And especially now with the FAQ affecting the harvester, the Mortek Guard list is not quite what you were thinking.
Let's try that, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Carry on.
So, because you played one with multiple harvesters before that, didn't you? So that thing's been knocked on the head.
Yeah. So the FAQ came out today for the OCR Bone Reapers. So that's been, and in my opinion, it's been loads better. So they've stopped harvester stacking. So if you don't know what that is, that's the Gothazar harvesters for the Bone Reapers. They can no longer regenerate 2 models per one. Someone had done some amazing maths on Twitter. Have you seen it?
No.
That if you took 5 Mortek Guard and put 3 Gothazar harvesters behind it, you had to do 1 million damage, and you still wouldn't kill them all.
So you could do it then.
There's
exactly.
hope. Yeah, there's still a chance.
There's a glimmer. But for some reason they haven't stopped the stacking of the Hunter's command ability.
Right, yeah. So there were two FAQs came out. That was for Bone Reapers. So what they did was they made it so that neither Catacross or they're the worst ones that you're never going to see on the tabletop, so it's not a big deal. But they're basically the non-stalker variants. They had shields where you can give them 5+ DPR against mortal wounds against mortal wounds, and they took that off. You being able to give it to Catacross and whatever the hell that unit is, which no one will ever take, so it's not an issue. They've made it so that you can't stack the Gothazar harvesters. You can't spam the command ability on the horse riders. So the Kavalos Death Riders, you were able to just activate their command ability to do mortal wounds when you charged all the time, like 5 times in a row. So that's good that they've stopped that. I actually think it's a really solid FAQ for the Bone Reapers, who now, having played, I think 6 games with them, I actually think that they are just solid. Like, they're not broke. So my previous statement of them being broke, not true. I just think they're great. You have to make some genuinely serious choices about what you want to change. Yeah. And it's really nice. Do I drop 2 harvesters and just put 2 catapults in? Like, the points just switch around really well. I think everything's pointed pretty nicely. Like, I've recorded a rundown for the Gothazar harvester, and it's just, in my opinion, some of the best rules writing that they've done. Now, I know obviously people are going to talk about that once a game ability to nuke a character. And it really affects hordes, but it only affects very specific hordes. So it's not very good. It's really tough for Gits as a matchup, as an example. But like, you can just lock it down. Like, it's got a minimum range of 6 inches. Like, but you're never going to kill it. I don't know. I just think it's great. I think the book is really, really good, and I think the FAQs fixed a lot of the problems that they had initially. But have you seen the FAQ for the Ogre Mob tribes?
There was only like a couple of things there.
There was literally nothing.
Yeah. I thought they might FAQ the Hunter's command ability stacking on the cats, but that's not happened. So.
No, so the Battle Cat spam. Jonathan Etland, have you heard about the Battle Cat spam? And what's up, Twitch chat? Love you loads. No, and so we're going to catch you up. So that's the point of today. It's the John catch-up show, and also a refresher for everyone. So any thoughts you got later?
It's good. It's good that I get a catch up because I'm judging in a 100-player tournament this weekend. So
You are,
it's good.
and aren't you also live commentating?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Awkward. So you can't spam the Death Rider ability. They fixed all of the things in the Bone Reapers, but the thing that they haven't done, you're able to, John. Me and Nathan did the review of the Moor tribes, and we pointed out the fact that you could leave a hunter off the board and generate like 5 command points a turn. Then the hunter's command ability stacks, and you're able to make it so that battle cats have basically an extra attack for every command point you spend.
Yeah.
So that would be the saber tusks. So you can just so you can stack 10, 20 attacks on a unit of
Frost sabers. Yeah.
Frost sabers, yeah, not thunder tusks, frost sabers. Thank you. And deep strike them with +3 to charge
But when do you give the plus attacks?
in the combat phase.
And when do you deep strike them?
At the end of the movement phase.
Okay. But you still have to take the hunter with you, and the hunter needs to be is a wholly within, or
Yeah, but
wholly within 12.
But then you can take him in a battalion where you just get all of that.
okay.
So they haven't fixed that, but I don't think it's that good. I think it's a massive. It's a meme. It's a meme army.
From the small things I've seen at the moment, I don't think that's a big issue.
No.
Okay. I just want to say a big shout out to everyone in the chat. Mandollies, Brutal Massacre. I stand by my comment of 60 guard, 3 catapults, harvester, and catacross. Good. 8-bit Jesus, hello. Catapults are the shitty siege engines in real life. Kind of feels that way in the game. Mandollies, what's up? You're in the UK soon, I think. Hello to the chat.
Already.
Is he here already?
I'm pretty sure I saw his flight.
Oh, I think he's
The-
here.
his
I think
story of
he's
his-
in England.
Yeah, he's in the UK.
Yeah. So that's an Australian brother who's travelled over for Crimbobo.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. He's in London. Okay, cool. So hi to everyone in the chat. The FAQs come out. We've reviewed that. It's pretty good. It's fine. It's good. They haven't broke anything. They've done nothing to the
Apple cart.
apple cart, but they have done something. Now, John, you were here, or you were in Age of Sigmar when there was terrain pieces, when everyone had faction terrain pieces, right?
Of course, man, I have one.
Exactly. So the Bone Tide Nexus, which is the Hypar Bone Tide Nexus, which is the OCR Bone Reapers terrain piece.
Yeah.
That goes down before any other terrain piece in the game.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of TOs around the world were asking for clarity on when. So like, okay, it goes down before other terrain pieces, but like, what if you've got predetermined terrain maps? Because that's basically how the new Games Workshop terrain works from GHB 2019. So just what's the situation? What do you do? So what have you guys seen what they've answered with?
No.
John, have you seen the answer?
Whatever the fuck you want to do, isn't it?
It's actually
Just send it.
talk to your TO and see what they decide.
Oh, that's great, man.
How do you feel about that?
Because that's how it's gonna be in reality. Like, there's no way they're gonna change it. Also, I saw that terrain piece yesterday in real life, and I mean, it's not that big, to be honest.
It's
I think you
huge.
can play it. No, it's not huge.
It's,
I mean, you could probably play it as normal terrain. But then you fucking millennials probably, but I want it in the optimal position. And you're not going to get it in the optimal position every time. You can still fit it probably, I'd say 9 out of 10 times.
just put it in the middle every time. Zoomer. Nathan, what do you think about the Rata? Grobda says that it's good. Really happy with that. Crazy Horse loves the answer. Reflex Dog Train in painting is super up for the jet glare. Yeah, the jet glare. Jet, by the way, in case you guys are just conscious, still alive, which is exciting.
Yeah.
How you feeling, Jet? Okay, good. So, you happy about that answer, Nath, or you don't care?
Yeah. No, it sounds like a good answer. The TO will. It's going to be up to the TO at the end of the day, so it's not like there's a magic answer, is there?
Someone's asked in the chat, and I think it's a good point. LLV, he does the stats. Unless you watched this week's stats video where I forgot to mention that, huge apologies to LLV. He says, "Who TOs the TOs though?" Question, answer, thoughts, Nathan.
Who cares? Fuck those guys.
John,
Who are the TOs?
What does this mean?
who are the TOs?
Honestly, my rules reference. Tell you what, I'm a fucking TO, man.
Good.
I decide what's gonna happen with that fucking terrain piece.
You got very sweary all of a sudden when we got live. You were also relaxed. What's up? You pumped up. Vangelis said we used to have a TO who said if you asked him any stupid questions, you got throat punch. I want him to come back for OBR. Wow. Okay. So they didn't answer that, and that's it. But we got derailed. Any other Warhammer you played, or just our games?
No, so I played Tempest Eye in our games, and then
Oh yeah, you played with Tempest Eye. How was it?
That was cool.
What?
Yeah. And then so a few days before that, I'd given my Iron Jaws their first run out against JJ's Tempest Eye, which is why I took Tempest Eye. Only he had Gotrek in his, and that's a great move. He's a fine fella, that Gotrek. Yeah, he smashed loads of things up. So yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah, and how did you find it playing with Tempest Eye?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're really shooty, really fast the first turn. I was cackling my head off when I was realizing just how far my little dwarves are going.
So I was actually witness to this
all over the
cackling.
place.
Nathan actually put the thermal rider cloak, which is Nathan's new troll item that he puts on small characters. You gave your Rune Lord,
Warden King.
your Warden King, the thermal rider cloak in Tempest Eye, and you ran like 19 inches, and you were fucking crying with laughter, so much so that he was unable to talk to me. Yeah, he was just howling with laughter at what has only ever been a movement 4 fella, yeah, now going 19 inches and flying. And he didn't do much, did he? But he did run far.
Yeah, he won that first game.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did win that first game.
Didn't
Yeah.
win the second game. Didn't run so far.
What's up, Tomb King Tristan Speckles? What's up, baby cakes? Nathan has given me approval on his list being dwarves, and if he denies it, I have it in writing.
What?
Apparently, you've given Mandoli's written permission to use his army.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Of course. Well, you can still use dwarves. They're in the General's Handbook.
Yeah, you can. More on that later. John, are you asleep? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
He's back here.
Right. Let's get caught up with Jonathan Etland. John, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm the bestest I've been in a long time.
Okay. So you had a small fallout with Age of Sigmar. Or
I
did you
needed
have
that
a full
vacation.
love-in with World of Warcraft?
I got too famous at some point. I had too much of the machine. So I need to lock myself up, stay away from Twitter and all the events. Because a man can only handle so much love.
So many aubergines.
So many aubergines, yeah. Were you worried about the media attention that you were getting? Did you think it was getting to your head?
Yes. And it was only my head it was getting to as well. So it's a bit weird, you know.
Okay. Is it actually true that you weren't actually not playing World of Warcraft and not playing
I've been
AC?
playing World of Warcraft like a madman.
Is it actually true
great game.
Is it true that you skied to the most northern part of Sweden, and there you found a portal to another realm where there are creatures with demons, and it's there you taught them Age of Sigmar and were playing games?
Yes, that and the Chimera. I taught them the Chimera as well.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
What's a chimera?
Chimera.
Yeah.
It's that fucking chokehold you do.
Oh, the chokehold.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to teach me
The
that.
MMA move.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But now I'm back.
Okay, so
Stronger than ever.
talk to me about your decision. Obviously, some people just fall out of the hobby for a while because you're doing something else that you find fun and interesting. Would you say that that's the case, or were you having any issues with the game at the time?
I think I had some issues. I think that the game was lacking a bit of integrity. I guess the power creep was a fact. I think. I mean, realistically from Skaven and the Flesh Eater Court books and forward, it's been quite powerful. The armies have been quite potent, but I don't know. I think that's the way they're moving forward, and I think that like all the armies is going to be potent and fast. And also, I just think I needed a break to calm down.
Yeah.
And I mean, once I'm now that I'm back and been playing a few games, it's not like I've been playing like super competitive. I've just been throwing dice at people, swearing and having fun.
And have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I mean, we play it like that. I've played it like I just take. I don't duplicate units. I've tried not to, at least. Don't duplicate the units and just take whatever. Take the items from the books that never been used, roll them, whatever. Don't care. I mean, it's a great game, actually.
It is really fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's just like the side of the game that speaks to me. The competitive side, not so much at the moment. But I just prefer the more casual, laid back style. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's super fair. Like especially the high end competitive element. Like, so it's interesting with Crimbobo coming up, and obviously Kringliston. Have I said that right, John?
You fucking destroyed it, but sure.
Can you tell me how to say it?
Krigsluntan.
What? That's not how it's spelled. So this is a 100-person Swedish Warhammer Age of Sigmar event coming up this weekend. How do you say it?
Krigsluntan.
Kringsluntan.
Så, sluttan.
Kringsluntan. Zirik asks, how long have you guys been casting? About 22 minutes, brother.
2 years.
Oh, yes. And the Honest Wargamer has been going for 2 years. But we've been doing it nearly 5, if you think about it, ever since Bravery 1.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, so John, it's great to have you back.
Talking about casting.
Was it?
Casting could also be when I was fishing.
Did you ever used to
time.
fish?
Yeah.
When did you fish?
Since
In
I
Africa?
was born. Yeah.
Is there any water?
Don't need water to fish.
The Zambezi,
Yeah.
full of water. You don't need water to fish. We're gonna stop. We're gonna shop. Let's stop the show. How do you fish without water?
You just need fish for fishing.
That's a really good point. Good. Okay, let's say no more. And anyone at home, just fill in the blanks for yourself. John, was there any particular army that got you back into Age of Sigmar? You thought, right, that's it, I'm jumping back in. Was it the event that you've got coming up, Kringlistan, Kraglistan? Didn't America invade Kazakhstan?
Like your country and think that you should leave the fucking EU and die in that island alone and miserable.
No politics, thank you. Azrak, thanks for subscribing, by the way. Our studio is not feeling better, but I just moved all of the stuff to
From
the left,
one end to the other end.
which is why now I'm against this wall. Anyway, it's fine. It doesn't matter. And Mr. T, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, John, what made you decide now's the time?
I think ogres. I always said like I will return when the ogres come, and so I did.
And what is it about? What is it about the ogres that you like? I know the answer, but I just want everyone else to know.
Welcome back, Jonathan. You're fat.
I didn't say that.
Is this why you bring up to ridicule me?
I didn't say that.
I didn't say it either. Why?
You're a horrible person.
Who?
Fucking fat shamer, man.
You should have heard his girlfriend telling him the other day that he needed to cut back on the sugar and everything.
I'm actually going sugar-free because I need to untrain my mouth from capitalism.
Oh, okay.
And also, you want to get laid.
Yes. Right. Okay. So ogres. What is it about ogres that got you excited? Did you listen to our review show?
Ogres? No.
Did you listen to any review show?
No,
I'm
I
good.
haven't. I'm gonna take that in due time. That's the fine thing about when you upload stuff and it's still there. You can watch it later,
You can. That's
even
true.
if it isn't live.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Well, I hope you. What are you thinking of running for your ogres at the minute before we go on with the rest of the show?
Ogres. I mean, obviously my spirit animal. Love them. And then fucking Jason D. Fluffer comes along. Yeah, I'll play Age of Sigmar again if I get to play. This is actual how he looks like and talks. I'll play Age of Sigmar again if I get to do that. Ogres.
So you got an ogre competitor.
Yeah. So you've got an
Sounds
ogre
like-
brother.
Sure. But I need warm bodies to play right. So I was like, yeah, okay, Jason, you can play the ogres. You can play I'll play something else.
So you're not going to play the ogres. You're going to beat the ogres up.
Yeah,
What are you going to play with?
we'll see.
What was that thump?
Seeing as I'm reforged, I'll probably use something that can be reforged as well, right?
Oh, there you go. Sneaky insight into what it may be. Well, good. Well, let's catch
Phoenix
up.
Guard.
Phoenix Guard, yeah.
I didn't realize they got reforged. I was reading the book the other day. They're like the elf version of
Stormcast. Yeah, they get sent into the fire.
when they die or something. And they fall back to life.
Into the fire.
Yeah, they send it either into the ice fire or the fire. Hookerpin, thanks for the 100-bit donation. And then Reflex Dog Training Paint and says that I think Haywo is Jonathan's spirit animal, and I agree. So they get sent into the fire, don't they? And then they get reforged by the phoenixes. And their entire city is surrounded by amber that was melted magically by phoenixes flying over the top. How do you feel about that?
Sounds great.
Okay. Not into the narrative. If you guys are interested in the narrative, there are some excellent books available from Black Library.
From Black Library.
Written version only, please.
Well edited.
Well edited. So well edited. Probably one of the best, some of the best edited books I've ever read.
Aye,
Same?
definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah, the writers have been directed in the perfect direction.
Yeah, I would say
by
that they've
somebody
been...
with perfect direction
Yeah,
skills.
yeah, correct. Also agree with that statement.
Yes.
Loads. Right, let's go.
You might be allowed a teaspoon of sugar later.
Jason D. Fluffer, thank you for subscribing. I mean, you just had your act.
Just got burned like a fire belly.
Right, let's get on with the big news of the week. Although I'm sure no one's interested in what I did, but I actually went and attended a choir on Monday night. Saturday night. It was
Saturday.
really nice. Yeah, I went to a choir. Also, a little bit of a. Would you like some news from me?
Can't you give us a rendition of what you listened to?
I cannot, but one of them was an African song. It was all white women singing it. I thought, how colonial.
Toto.
Right, so this weekend, the Honest Wargamer is going to be doing live coverage from Crimbobo, but at the same time, we'll be in Sweden, also doing live coverage from King Lustunefen, which is exciting. John, you excited to have me over there?
No, not when you keep bashing the name like that.
And then Scrivo, Chuckleberty, and Nathan are going to be leading the team at Crimbobo.
Oh, wow. This is news. Cool.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Fine. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, great.
Crazy Horse, you weren't planning on... I said it in the last podcast, if you listened, you know.
I didn't even know I was going to Crimbobo. I've got other plans.
Fuck. Don't worry. Both events will be covered. Crazy Horse, thank you for the 1,000 bits donation. Turn the volume up so they can hear you over my 3D printers. No, I can't turn it up anymore. I'll break it. You will have a squad stream thingy so you can watch both. Full Grima, you will have. Yeah, you'll be able to watch one of them. Just check our social medias. But you'll be able to watch one of them on YouTube while you can watch one of them on Twitch. Yeah? It's really easy. Super simple. Easy peasy.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's some news, which is amazingly exciting, and the fact that Sweden's getting its very first live stream tournament. I'm hype about that.
Yeah.
Big shout out to everyone organising that. John, you excited for the world to see what the Swedish meta is like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the lists are in. It looks like Sweden have adjusted very well to the rest of the world.
Well, it's a 100-person event, right?
Yeah, it's fucking great. Last year we had 50.
Well,
Obviously the word have spread.
well, the big news, like LLV is saying in the chat, is actually Europe's biggest event. Obviously, with the UK leaving Europe, so we don't count. It's Europe's largest event.
Yeah, and it's we have some Finns coming over, maybe some Norwegians, some Germans, I think.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Everybody can come to Sweden.
Oh,
I haven't
nice.
seen the news.
Okay, I don't know.
Everybody's welcome, man.
So apparently, it says C3R00. 98 persons, lists are in, and there'll be lots of OBR and Cities of Sigmar. So how awesome is that? Like, so we're going to get see for the first time like live coverage. I'm super excited. See all the lists, do all the coverage. I'll be doing some. I'll be rolling in some of the coverage into the stat show at the beginning of the week. Anyway, my other bit of news before we get on to what we're talking about is that this is my bit of news is that the weekend after that I get to be in Northern Ireland and play Warhammer thanks to all the amazing Irish and Northern Irish folks. Would you like to know my list?
Yeah.
Okay. Get ready. I've written it out. I'm excited to see what you think. I've just double checked it. Big shout out. Someone's lending me the army because I wanted to take something that was really fun and a bit wacky. So can't wait to tell you. It's got an arch warlock. Yeah. And a warlock bombardier.
That's all right.
No, wait, I'm not finished. You're not finished. You're bored, but it's gonna be fun. 3 lots of 20 clan rats. I know that's boring. Yeah. Right. A Help It Abomination. You don't see those.
No.
3 Doom Wheels. I was a bit pissed off because I found out that fucking Doom Wheels are behemoths. So because I wanted to take 4 Doom Wheels and 3 Help Hits and just like minimum units and just like have a great time because they're all random movement.
Yeah.
But then they're all behemoths. So I was like, fuck. So, but anyway, so 3 Doom Wheels.
Yeah.
And a Help It Abomination. And then Clan Rats, Arch Warlock, Warlock Bombardier, and 2 times 3 Storm Fiends. A little MSU.
Nice.
What do you think of that?
That's not too bad. Yeah.
John, what do you think?
Where is Rob and what have you done with him?
Well, so number
I'm
one,
expecting a phone call like after day 1, as Daniel Bradshaw did. Jonathan, how do you play with this crap? How do you play? How do you find it fun?
well, yeah, but I don't play Warhammer like him, because I've played before. So I'm really excited about that, especially the Doom Wheels. So one of the really cool things you can do with the Warlock Bombardier is he's got a spell. So you pick you pick 3 units within 13 inches, and you can do D3 mortal wounds to them. But you can overpower it, yeah? And then you do D6 mortal wounds to 3 units, yeah? But if you don't cast it, or it's unbound, you immediately suffer D3, D6 mortal wounds to the caster. And then I've taken a spell portal, and I'm just first turn gonna absolutely overpower it every fucking time. I'm just gonna go, let's go, big dice. And then also the Doom Wheels, they've got D6 shots, but you can overpower them, and they do 2d6 shots. But if you roll any doubles, they take mortal wounds. So that's what the whole list is basically. The Storm Fiends don't, but I actually, because of the Behemoth thing, I started running out of units pretty quickly. So I was like, and no one I knew had loads of like Doom Flayers or Warp Fire Throwers or dumb shit. So I just thought, like, okay, I'll just take 2 lots of 3 of them. That's kind of fun. And then, so the whole idea is that I just be utterly maniacal for a weekend because I'm really excited about playing Warhammer. So I'm just going to be like, like living
great.
on the edge of chaos. They'll be like, no, you won't try and overpower it. I'm like, I'm going to overpower it every fucking turn. Let's go. Yeah. So like, and if it works out,
It'd be quite a load of damage.
Yeah, there used to be a Magic the Gathering deck. Now, I was never really into Magic the Gathering, but I was into it enough a couple of times to go and look at like deck build lists to play with my friends. And one of the lists that you could play was a mono red deck, which the title of it is what caught me, and it was 63% of the time I win every time. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. That sounds like an army list for me. So that's what I decided to go for. So I'm going to go take Skaven to an event. And it could be because someone, John, a couple of months ago, paid $100 for me to not cuss out Skaven for a month. And because I had to say I liked him, I think I've ended up liking them.
Stockholm syndrome.
I'm Stockholm syndrome myself. So, if anyone wants to get me to play an army, apparently all you got to do is make me just talk.
Kidnap you and keep you in a room with them.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that because that'll be fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a list I can see myself playing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's right. It's interesting, fun. It's super janky. Like, I still think it's okay. Stormfiends are pretty good. The Doom wheels are genuinely really good. Like, so let me just read the war scroll out to you and tell you, because the fact that Behemoth is a bit shitty, I was like, fuck. But anyway, I think it's fun. Doom wheels. So it's got 8 wounds with a 4-up save, but it moves 4d6 inches. And check this out. You could re-roll it, but when you re-roll it, if you roll any ones, your opponent then can move it.
How we do it.
Yeah, so that's fun. All right.
It's great rules writing, actually.
Pardon me?
That's great rules writing, actually.
Yeah, it's just really mental. So then it's got a shooting attack, which is 13 inches, but D6 shots, but I'm going to overpower it every time to 2d6. 3s, rend 1, d3 damage.
Wow.
So I'll be doing 66 of those shots a turn, hopefully, if something's in range. Yeah, blow it up. However, if I roll a double, I suffer 2d6 mortal wounds to the model. So I could easily kill my own guy, which I think is interesting. And then if you move over some units, you can just cause some shit, basically. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. I also think the internet's just broken. So, John, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay, well, it says 0 on OBS, so I think OBS may have cut out on us. But as long as you can hear us, that's all that matters. Okay. That's my news. Do you think it's fun? Would you play it? Would you play some practice games against me?
I've played against the Hellpit Abomination. They're pretty scary.
They're really good.
But it's their random move. Again, lets them down. If they charge you, you're in a world of pain. But so you've just got to make sure you get them before they get you.
Yeah.
If you're playing against them, if you're playing with them, then you've got to screen them carefully and then unleash them into your opponent's army and watch them
die.
Have fun. Yeah. They'll knock a big hole in something.
Come back when they die.
What? Yes, the Hellbait Abomination still comes back if it dies, so that's another good thing. So on a 5 or a 6, you return it with D6 wounds. So
yeah.
You see, I've embraced that madness because I think the game at the moment, I mean, it's not balanced. It's never been like balanced. So if it's not balanced, you might as well just embrace all of that random thing which could tip the tides a lot.
Yeah.
Like the Orphis might be a bit much. They can spend several CPs, but I mean, then again, whatever. It's but like Hammers of Sigmar, Hellpit Abomination. I mean, sure, it's not balanced, but when it happens in the game, it's horrendous for one person, and it's the best thing ever for one person.
Yeah. It's like the Screaming Bell summoning a Vermin Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Like that drama.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Like I think I've designed a list which has got drama and almost not the Clan Rats or the Stormfiends, but like I ran out of drama rolls at that stage, and there's a lot in there. So I just think I think it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna play some test games. A big shout out to Nick who's lending me the army. So big thank you. Big shout out to the Irish boys. So I hope I can go and just be maniacal, and it was really fun. I was talking to Pete about it, and he said that there's a whole bunch of people who keep messaging him about their lists, because one of the things I want to do is I want my opponents to have a good time. Like, I've played some pretty competitive games this year when we're at Adepticon and some other places. Like, I now just want to like have a weekend just like hanging out with people, just rolling some stupid dice. So like, I'm super up for that, and I think it's going to be a laugh. So I'll let you know. Obviously, there's no coverage or anything from that, but I'll like let you know on the Monday after how it all went.
Cool.
I'm very excited about that. Okay, let's go on with the news, and then we'll talk about the main topic of the show. So the news is, I don't know if you guys saw that on Friday, Games Workshop announced that Forge World will be bringing out a new game system set in the settings of the old world. Hey, Lee Bromley. Hello, everyone on Twitch. So did you catch any news about that? Did you read the article?
I read the article. Something about it's like a long-term thing, 2 to 3 years. They're expecting something to come out. So it's coming from Forge World, eh? So probably just after they've brought out those Vermeer.
Yes, of course. Yes, I agree. John, have you heard about it, and what do you think?
Yeah, I heard about it. I don't have such a strong relationship with Warhammer Fantasy. I think I played one tournament or something like that. One or maybe two. I always been playing 40k before Age of Sigmar. I don't know. I think a lot. I'm like now thinking, like I would say, like guy guessing. You think you're right, but you're just guessing. But I think a lot of the players who have come from Warhammer Fantasy Battle and like embraced Age of Sigmar, they're probably here to stay. But there still is some clientele in like the people who left for like Warhammer Hordes, Malifaux, Ninth Age and stuff, and I still think that they want to grab those people up and put them under the Forgeverse / Games Workshop banner again, which makes sense, I guess. And also, I mean, a lot of people who play Age of Sigmar would probably play both of them. I mean, get an army. Depending on what the outcome of the product is, of course. But if it's Warhammer Fantasy Battle, I guess that's my guess.
Yes. So they haven't said much. Like, so they've said that it's going to be. So obviously it's come through Forge World. So some things. So I did a little bit of a reaction video on Friday. I read all the YouTube comments and thought it through, and I've been thinking it through over the weekend, which I think is interesting. And I'd like to go through some of those kind of opinions and see what you two think about them. If that, yeah. So the first thing is. That people have obviously said that it's exciting, and I think the positive to focus on first, which is really important, is that a whole bunch of people were really into a narrative, because I don't think it'll be the same game ever as 8th edition was.
No, well, I mean, obviously they've got all the rules books and everything for 8th edition, so if they were just doing 8th edition, it wouldn't take 2 to 3 years because it's there already. So it's not going to be 8th edition, is it?
No.
And I hope it's not.
Go on, John.
Well, I hope it's not Ninth Age as well, because that game is a bit off. I feel like regarding how Games Workshop tend to produce their games. I mean, there needs to be some drama in their games, and Ninth Age is apparently like super balanced now. But also there is teams or like companies that have made like. What do you call it? Regimental battle-based
rank
games.
and flank games, yeah.
Rank and flank, yeah. Like Kings of War and stuff, and I hope I played that, and that's like a really good game. So there's a lot of inspiration to pick up as well, like from the games that have been created in their ashes, I guess.
So yeah, to give some backstory to anyone who's new, and you might be an Age of Sigmar player having known nothing about the old world. Effectively, what happened was Games Workshop made a fantasy game which they didn't support for years. This was during the dark times of Games Workshop, where they actively didn't talk to their player base. They didn't have any social media. They didn't do any YouTube things. They did nothing. They didn't do any live streaming. What they actually did was send a whole bunch of cease and desist letters around to pretty much everyone in the world about pretty much anything. And they really didn't support that game. Then what was nice it seemed like they did this thing called the End Times, this kind of like cumulative narrative with these really expensive books that caused this kind of like we all got hyped. There was new rules, there was loads of support, there were new models, everyone could jump in on it, which was fun. That led up to hey JJ, that led up to the destruction of the old world. So they blew up their game system and their narrative universe, which has existed for 30 years. So really exciting that that's coming back for people. That's really fun. However, it was done in arguably some of the worst PR I've ever seen from a game company. Well, from anyone. Like, I mean, I've seen people spill oil into the fucking ocean and do better PR with it. Like, because their PR was nothing. They just cancelled everything. They just said Age of Sigmar was coming, told no one it was, and then there was just a brand new game, and that was it. And it was launched without points, and it was like not terrible, but it wasn't the smartest play. And a lot of people, like myself, Nathan, you and me played our very first Age of Sigmar game together. A lot of people like myself, I was super fucked off, like super annoyed about how they had handled and treated the community. I thought it was really shitty. So a whole bunch of people didn't even move over into Age of Sigmar. They went to play a game they made up themselves, which was called Ninth Age, and a whole swath of the community went and did that, right? I don't know what the percentage was because obviously they weren't tracking. But there's been some pretty large Ninth Age tournaments. They've hit like 100 people fairly regularly at different parts of the world. So that's pretty solid, right? And then they took over writing their own rules for basically Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which was interesting because the Age of Sigmar community then started writing their own rules and points for Age of Sigmar. So Games Workshop wasn't involved in either game, and they both went really well. That's the backstory, right? Did you say that's fair, or was that weighted in any way?
I think, I mean, obviously it was the first time they scrapped one of their babies. And I think it definitely could have been done better. But I don't think that, like, if you compare it to the last time when they removed the Warhammer Fantasy Battles, it feels like they didn't know what product AOS was going to be. I mean, they didn't have any points. It felt like they didn't have any clue whatsoever on what their player base wanted from them.
Yeah.
I feel like they catched up with that a little bit. I mean, like, I can see how some of those, how those surveys that they put out each year, I can see how some of those just says bring back Fantasy Battle, bring back Fantasy Battle, bring back Fantasy Battle. So, I mean, they are in touch with the community now in a different way that they were when AOS was released. So I think they have a better understanding of the market now. And seeing how their stock has increased 700%, I guess that's speaking for it a little bit as well.
Yes. So I would actually say that just getting onto social media was when they finally hit their stride and actually learning how to communicate. And one of the reasons I went to work for Games Workshop was because they handled the Sigmar Switch so poorly that I wanted to affect some positive change from the inside. And one of the reasons that I left was I didn't think that that's actually possible. That they just lie. That's why the show is called The Honest Wargamer, right? But that's a by the by. It's not really important. So,
I think the Age of Sigmar was quite a brave thing for them to do because it was, like Jonathan says, I don't think they had like a proper plan, but they obviously they obviously wanted a change, and so they were going for it.
That's nice if you're going on a date.
I was going on a date with them. It was great. So I just think it was quite a brave move on their part, and it could have gone the other way, really. But it's gone good.
No, I think it's gone fantastic. Not what we were expecting, right? But like, I think it's brave. It's brave if it's like I say, a date. But as a business concept, launch a product with no plan. Like, I get you. Like,
I think Mo single-handedly saved their asses.
Agreed.
And he should be compensated in some way, some form or another.
Mo Ashraf should 100%. Okay, so anyway, that's the PR. So that created a lot of bad feelings. Would you like an Age of Sigmar? Fantastic game in my opinion, and I would never go back to play a rank and flank game. It's not me trying to be rude. Kings of War is meant to be really good. A Song of Ice and Fire is meant to be really good. From everything I've heard, the cinematics now of round it just feels way more cinematic for me.
Yeah.
Like even 40k, like with the tanks, the flyers. The flyers are a little bit odd. I think sometimes, but it makes a lot more cohesive sense. The rank infantry just doesn't it's just like, how do you do monsters in that situation? Like a monster just couldn't run around. I suppose like firing arcs is a bit weird and stuff. Anyway, but the law's coming back, so people are excited about that. The game probably not coming back, so.
I do hope though there is rank and file. I don't want it to be Age of Sigmar for boomers.
Yeah,
like the same rule system, but it's set in a different setting, so you can't use the models. I guess we have that already in the way that we use models from Realmgate Wars, and now it's Soul Wars, but still, you get the point. So it's just that split Age of Sigmar scene. I think that's unnecessary.
Well, so that's the next point. So law coming back, giant positive, yeah, because we all loved it. There were bits we all liked. You're going to get Scars in it back, Nath. So that's really exciting. Grimgor Ironhide, he'll be back. I mean, hopefully.
Skarsnik and Thoric and all of those guys.
So that's just awesome, right? Like, I'm kind of hoping we get Valton back. I was always a big Valton fan. Pretty boring, a pretty generic man hero with a hammer.
North American male.
Yeah. Like in a new Disney film, he'd never get greenlit now. I really like Valton. I think he's rad. I liked his model. So I'm super about that. That's going to be really fun. Grom the Paunch. So everyone in the chat just talking about who they love. So that's cool. Models coming back is awesome because I can use them in Age of Sigmar. That's really fun. The next thing to talk about that's a negative that people have talked about, which I think is super fair, is Games Workshop, obviously, when they write things, they exist in Warhammer World. They have a large player base. We're right here in Nottingham. We play there regularly. They have 100-people tournaments most weekends. They're not trying to build a community or a scene. So they don't have to worry if they're like, well, just make a small, like they'll be like, we'll make Titanicus. And you're like, cool, you'll find some people to play Titanicus with. But for people like Tristan, for instance, who's in the chat, who's in the sticks in Canada, there was people in their little communities who, when Age of Sigmar changed, like I talked about the diversification of the player base, a whole bunch of people went to play Ninth Age or Kings of War or Malifaux or something else. So they've spent 4 or 5 years building up their community again. And some people have done it like there's a 100-person event about to happen in Sweden. There's a 200-person event about to happen in Australia. So that's amazing. But now you might see that player base split again. And then some of those player bases may only just be recovering. And that seems to me, from what I've seen of people who are worried that it's going to make their friends not want to play the game that they want to play, that seems quite sad. So I'm looking at that as a negative, but it might create some new communities for that game, which is cool. But I'm not really talking about that game yet because it doesn't exist. So what do you guys think about that as a point?
No, I think probably their target audience is more those people that want to play on square bases, because it looks like it's going to be a square base game.
Yeah.
So it's more likely to drag people into the fold rather than split the existing fold up, I think. That's my personal thoughts, but again, this just how it's going to happen. Who knows?
Like you and me have had a Blood Bowl team, and we've been planning to play Blood Bowl for about 2 years.
Yeah. It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Not
But then again, knowing Forged World and how they do, because I mean, if it is the equivalent to what Horus Heresy is to 40k, we don't need to worry at all.
Yeah.
Well, so that's where it's super different, right? Because it's not. Yeah. So that was the equivocation given.
Because it's not okay.
Well, because the Horus Heresy, it creates a timeline that directly links and still has characters in 40k. Now that's kind of true for Age of Sigmar, but not anywhere relatable. The timeline for the old world ends point blank. And yes, Archeon carries over, but Archeon now is in charge of the all points, which, how does that make any sense? It's not in the old world. None of the settings are carried over.
No, but some of them, some of
Quite
the
a lot of
story
them.
carries over though. Like all of the gods are from the old world,
Some
and
are.
even some of the characters, all of the gods are from the old world.
All of the gods?
Yeah.
Are you
I
sure?
mean, you have the Monarchs, right? Those are all from the old world.
Mortox and Nagash are definitely
Yeah,
from.
and a lot of the
Fucking yeah.
demons and even the bloody rat has snuck
I
across
mean,
as well.
got the call out of Satan's anus now, and he's in the world again. So I mean, you can explain everything, right, with words if you want to. But then again, I think the
Or
question is if you
pictures.
should have to, or pictures, yeah. I don't know because if it is like Horus Heresy, because as I understand it, like Forgewell has a budget that is ridiculous because fanatics buy their titans and they get a lot of cash for them. And I mean, if the old world game will be the same as Horus Heresy, it will be a very specific type of neckbeard that will buy into it and maybe play it once a year at the events that are hosted, like Horus Heresy, outside of Nottingham, that is.
Well, yeah. So I think the biggest concern that I've seen is the splitting of player bases wherever they may wherever they may play, and I think that's a bit sad for those communities who do have that smaller player base, for example, or are trying to grow their player base. You know, like they're working really hard in their
Oh,
local
it might
community.
help grow their player base though. That's the thing. So
Well, it would if, again, difference between Horus. So if I buy a Dorado Dreadnought and use it in the Horus Heresy, it's on a circular base that works in 40k or in the Horus Heresy on that same circular base. If I buy a bunch of square base models, I can't use them in my Age of Sigmar game.
yeah, no, but it's bringing people into playing a similar game, and then you can then buy other models to play.
Well, actually, like if you look at the now I'm gonna take the Swedish scene, right? It's big now. Okay, it's a 100 people tournament. That's big, I think. And I know most of them, like from playing at tournaments in Sweden, and most of them, I mean, nobody has, apart from that time where you were a young kid and you got some toys back in when you were younger, and then you like put the toys together, and but you didn't never play Warhammer Fantasy Battle because it was so inaccessible for young kids.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody has that relationship, like in Sweden at least. Some, not nobody, but some, not a lot at least. The majority of the scene does not have a relationship with Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Like most of them actually got into Age of Sigmar because it's so easily accessible to start playing at an adult age. So like they don't have the same relationship that you and Nathan has with Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I don't think that it should interest them as much as Necromunda should.
Yeah, maybe. Like anyway, I think it's really interesting. So those are the positives. Law coming back, great. Might bring people back to the game. Nathan's point. I think that's super fair and really exciting. Also, might split communities, might create communities, which is another good point as well. Yeah. And I think for me, there's zero chance on God's Green and Holy Earth that I will ever put a model. Like I had to rebase more than one army, tons of armies. Like as of you, Nath, how many grots have you had to rebase?
Couple hundred. But the thing is, I've still got probably over 100 on square bases. So
checkmate, motherfuckers.
so I'm ready and waiting.
But also, I mean, if it's
unit fillers, baby, unit fillers.
Unit fillers, baby, correct.
So yeah, I'm waiting. Because occasionally when I go down to Warhammer World, you see people playing 8th edition, and I go and I stand there and watch, and smile because it was fun, and so I might be tempted. I'll have a look at the rule set when it comes out, and if it's decent enough and everything. Yeah, and I've still got my 100 grots or whatever it is that I've still got. I've still got loads of dwarves on square bases as well, so. I might be tempted into doing a few small games. I still think Age of Sigmar will be my main game. If I've got a bit more time on my hands and the rule set is good, then fair enough. I'll give it a bash because I do like fantasy. type games. So I mean, I'm still tempted to go and play Lord of the Rings, but it's just at the moment. It's,
I'm very
it's
tempted to
having
play Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is a great game.
Yeah.
And
finding
what's
the
also
time.
great about it is that it's a whole different system from Age of Sigmar, so you don't get it mixed up as you could do maybe with 40k and Age of Sigmar. And also, I mean, if this new old world game is good, I mean, if it is really good, I mean, why not play that game? I mean, it's a hip hop world, so keep up or get out of the way, right?
Yeah, no, I understand you. Like, number one, it's made by Forge World, so like I got nothing but love with them, but they've lost, in my opinion. So the guys that do the Lord of the Rings game,
Have they discovered what an index is yet?
nope, they have not.
Oh,
So it's the
fuck
Forge
that
World
shit.
guys. So what we can say about them is troubling, with the exception of Middle Earth. The Middle Earth team do really, really well. I'm super invested. Like, I invested in this game and this narrative for this game now for Age of Sigmar for like 4 years. Like, you can't, like, do you know what? Like, it's nice, and for people that like fantasy, that's great. But do you know what? I didn't want them to blow it up. I didn't want them to blow up the thing that I was invested in. I liked, didn't want it, and they did it, and they did it without apologizing, and they didn't give a fuck. Yeah, so I adjusted, I carried on, I started playing this game. I really liked it. Yeah, I was like, I loved Mo for doing the points, and I thought that was great. It's great seeing Games Workshop accept it. Yeah, but now to just turn around and try and flog me the same thing back that they fucked me over with, nah. To be honest, I've been thinking about it all weekend. I think fuck off is my response. Like, because, like, how dare you? Is the truth of it? like how dare you? How dare you want to take my money off me? Yeah, for the same reproduced shit. Yeah, that you fucking took off me. It's fucking rude. Is my response.
Okay, so here's the reality of wargaming. At least for me, I will put in money in toys.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really matter what toys it is. The reason I play Age of Sigmar, it's not for the great rules writing.
it's a good point.
It's for the fucking awesome models and you motherfuckers. I mean,
Same. Well, that's the scary bit about a split community,
same
right?
thing, even though it's a different system, right? As long as, like, if you guys moved over, all the players that I know move over to Old Hammer or whatever it's gonna be called. I mean, I'd probably move over as well, and I would be probably not bothered about it because I'm still chucking loads of money in AOS. I mean, I've just moved to a new apartment, so bear with me. But those are two things, like 3 boxes filled with like probably lots of unopened shit, and I have 2 boxes back in it, and that's just the things that I have home. I mean, I have a fucking another apartment for all the other shit.
He's got an apartment for his toys. It's more like a dungeon.
I'm chucking money, and I mean, as long as people are happy and playing it.
No, yeah, and people that want to play it, absolutely. And if you're into it and you love it, like, more power to you. Like, I want to support that, love you, hope it's fantastic. I'm also interested in doing some coverage for it whenever it comes out. But
some people play 40k and Age of Sigmar.
Right here.
Some people will flip between the two, play one or the other, but then change, like it'll be cyclical.
Yeah, I'm just talking about my personal feelings. Is fuck off. Like, I mean that in the nicest way. Like, but I just don't understand why I ever would. Like, it would have to. No, there's no excuse. The only reason I would is all my friends play. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Basically, like, okay, you're buying a new army for Age of Sigmar. You could buy a new army for that game as well, and just play that game sometimes.
But it's on square bases.
Who?
Yeah, there you go, right? That's why it's fucking dumb. Like, if they were like, we're making a game in the old world, but it's on rounds, you'd be like, fair enough. That's kind of cool. Like, I'd be into that. Square bases, nah, sod off. Right.
It's like Game of Thrones, though, like rank and file that you put your square bases in, like those Lord of the Rings
Yeah, if you
movement
do it like
trays
that, that's fine. Have you seen those Lord of the Rings movement trays? No, the Song of Ice and Fire do that. They've got trays. You put your round bases in. Sold.
Lord of the Ring ones do it as well, don't they? So,
yeah, sold. That you'd be fine with that. All right, you got any final thoughts?
No, well, the final thoughts will be in a few years' time when those Familia come out and we see just how good the Familia really are.
You don't think they're ever going to make it, do you? No. I don't think so either. They're such a bunch of dicks. All right, John, you got any thoughts? Final thoughts? Twitch chat, final thoughts?
I'm with Nathan on this one. Let's wait it out and see what it is.
Same.
It's too much of a guess game.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm also never rebasing anything.
I've got loads of grots on square bases. Actually, they're not grots, they're goblins.
You can start saying goblins again. They'll just be like, I'm not playing this game. I'm playing the goblin game. I understand. Dwarves, goblins.
I remember putting 100 goblins on a big tray and pushing it across the board until the chariot died nearby and then they ran away. It was great.
I remember
Some
do you remember
really
me
great
buying a
games.
mammoth? Me charging a mammoth into Nathan's Black Hawk block. But then the mammoth did no damage. Like, it had a chart that you rolled on instead of anything else. And then the only one that it would do damage on, because it was an infantry unit or something, was if I rolled a 5. No, if I rolled anything but a 5. But the 5, like, on the 2d6 chart was something like...
It bellows and shouts, so you win combat, but... You could never chase me away because I had more ranks or whatever.
No, because you were Black Hawk, so you
yeah.
were whatever the like. You couldn't run off. Yeah, and I rolled 5 for like 3 rounds of combat. Yeah, and it was just like brilliant. This sucks. So anyway,
a bit like a giant. I think a giant had a chart like that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. There's some good fun times. I remember rolling ones with Thorax Anvil all the time and stuff like that. It was great.
I remember someone just saying the word 6 dice, six dice purple sun, and me being like,
all the
"Sweet,
time.
this game sucks balls." Okay, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. We'll move on. Okay, main topic of the show. Jonathan Atland has returned to Age of Sigmar, so I thought we'd do a refresher. Let everyone know where we're at in the game, where the game is at as a thing. Any resources that you might want or could need, and we'll just take through that. So, any questions, John? So this is your thing. So you're back. So is there anything you'd like to know kicking us off? Me and Nathan will try to answer.
So Slaanesh is nerfed, right?
Give it another month or so.
Give it another month or so.
So it's still a game I love and respect. So they're still the baddies, are they?
Right.
Well,
so,
actually, when I left, I don't think Slaanesh really was the baddies, because when I left right after Six Nations, and then Slaanesh was on the uprise. I know there were some armies there doing really well at Six Nations, and I think they've just snowballed from there. So I've kind of missed the Slaanesh period, really. I just heard them whispered about how they conjure another army from their pocket, basically.
That's a great combination of words, the Slaanesh period.
yes, that's perfect. Right. So I think the first thing Jonathan's alluding to, which I think is a great conversation, is he's heard that some armies are strong. So you might be someone out there who doesn't know what armies are good, how you work them, or like what you might have to face in the future. That's Jonathan's question, I think, in a roundabout way. So I would say that the easiest answer, Nath, first off, how do you find out what's strong in the game? Is it whatever you're using at the time?
Yeah, it's like when you have a battle and one person walks away with a limp, you know that they weren't the strongest. And the other one is like standing there, waving their fists in the air, like they just don't care.
Having their foot up their ass.
Yeah. Or else you listen to the stat show on a Monday night or whenever. No, when is it? Tuesday
Literally
morning.
Monday night now, you dickhead.
Thursday afternoon, whenever you do it. Or I think you can download it and listen to it whenever you want, which is more likely what I'd do. So, yeah. Stat show is good for that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just you need to get down to your local club and see what the other dickheads are doing and then make sure you bring the counter.
Yes. So I think Nate's hit the nail on the head. The stat show, I would argue, obviously this is super biased, but I would say that stat show is the best way of keeping track. We started doing a new thing on the stat show, John.
Expectation.
I've started doing this new thing on the stat show where I'll do like a faction deep dive, or I'll look at like a recent tournament, and I always put the top 3 lists on the Honest Wargamer website. So,
Nice.
So you can go and check them out and see like what lists, or at least what's in the list. Pardon me?
What not to play.
Yeah, what not to play or what to copy, depending on how you feel. So that's it. I would say those are the 2 resources that we definitely produce. to help people out.
Yeah. And I mean, that's great. That's really good, actually. Because I mean, in the end, I don't think you want to invest in fucking dog shit, right? Because that will make nobody happy. You should have a chance to win your games at least, even if it is round 4 or round 5. To win at least one game.
So I would say that's yeah. Go on.
Also, like in Sweden, as the progressive country that we are, at the tournament we're hosting this weekend, if one player wants to use a chess clock, that's perfectly fine. Which makes some armies less. I want to play some armies less because of that. Like Linus of Nagash, I mean, you need to have a pretty solid driver's license to be able to play them effectively and good under pressure. So there's that thing in the equation now for me as well to take in. Like what can I play decent and fast without sweating too much.
Yeah, you want to be aware of the fact that there's a time constraint on the game.
Yeah.
So if you're going into the game from the beginning, games are constrained by time, and also by the by the complexity of the actual rules on some of them. So you've got to decide what sort of things you want out of the game. So some people will be wanting a game which is all about you win the game in the movement phase, whereas other people are not bothered. They just want to win the game however it is, if it's going to be shooting or massive overwhelming magic phase or something like that, then so you probably want to be doing a little bit of research on those sort of things, really.
And also, as you were saying, like, how complex are the rules? Because when you play under the chess clock, it actually allows you to make mistakes. You can't stand and do all the optimal choices all the time. It actually it forces you into making mistakes sometimes if you aren't as good of a player. So you can't really be that warm body, just being a dice generator, basically. You have to think quick and play quick.
Okay, so is there a question involved in that, or just you're telling us there's chess clocks at Kinglestufen?
I don't know, really.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more an answer to your point.
Yeah.
Which I've forgotten what your point was.
Good. Okay.
What resources? Yeah. And you're talking about the resources and stuff. So
right, yeah. So resources. There's chess clocks, and there's the opportunity to use those. One of the things. Tomb King Tristan in the chat, by the way, has put a link to. He's running an Age of Sigmar tournament where he is in Canada, and the proceeds from the event are going to a women's shelter, which I think is fantastic.
Oh.
So we'll share that out later.
Cool.
Let me just right click it so I can.
But also, I had a point. Hopefully, I'm not sure, but hopefully we can provide the statistics over what armies ran out of time. And I think that could be an interesting thing for the stats as well.
Yeah.
To see what type of armies take longer time, or if it is the type of army.
Yeah. I think if people are approaching the game as new and that's something that they might be concerned about, then they can look at it as a stats information.
Yes. Go on. Sorry, John.
No, we'll see. We'll see.
Stressed because the internet's not working. We just got new internet last week, and I did a show, and now it's being shit, and everyone's pissed off, and I'm pissed off, and just sucks dick. Because you want to do a good show, and I try my hardest, and anyway, carry on. Sorry, what's the next question, John?
Questions. So, what should I be? I mean, obviously, you answered the question with, "Well, it's in the stats," but I don't know what type of armies do people play now? Is it just the fucking horrible stuff? Is everything horrible?
Well, so I think the first thing to talk about, which I think is a good point from your part, is when you're talking about resources is there's actually Games Workshop released a smaller book with all of the rules combined into them. So they've got the artifacts of power that you can get from malign sorcery. They've got the realm rules if you're playing in the realms. It's got the battle plans. It's got the core rules, but it doesn't have the secondaries. So it's almost everything, but the secondaries they never put to print. The secondaries were always freely available
on the
PDF
website thing.
Yeah. So there's a list of gaming accessories that you might need, but obviously the battle plans, the realms, if your event is using realms, and then some quick resources that I would say that are super useful are obviously War Scroll Builder, which is free and available on the internet. Now you know about that already. A cool new thing that's gone up, so you can find out lists and what people might be taking and what you could take, as well as some rundowns. So like I've been making video rundowns. Darren's been writing rundown guides on units, which is super worth reading. So
I read his Scragrot one. It was pretty good.
Yeah, he's wonderful. But if you take your list that you made in War Scroll Builder, John, and then you put it into a website called AOS Reminders.
AOS Reminders.
Yeah. And then what you do, then what you do is so you just put your army list in there. So you can just make it in War Scroll Builder and just drop the PDF straight in. You don't have to remake it.
Magic,
it is black magic. You don't have to do it on AOS. You don't have to do it on AOS Reminders, but you can.
Davis E. Ford.
Mm-hmm. So that's cool.
So good.
So what you're able to do there is put your army in, and it will tell you what to do in every phase, so you won't miss anything. So if you're new or like you're just learning,
bit rusty,
a bit rusty, or if you're just playing a new army, you can just put everything in there, and it spits out all the things you should do every phase. Now, not tactically do, but what you're the rules
what you have available to you.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's an amazing tool, and I think it's just amazing.
This is autism weaponized. I love it. This is so good, actually. I did not know this. Subscribe to this. I'm gonna chuck in a cash.
Yeah, it's really good. So that's a really cool tool that you can do. So that's another great resource. There are some other resources that you need. So there aren't movement trays, I would say, are another thing, but you would have to search for those locally. That's another resource. Yeah. So this is if you're new or you're returning. I know you already need this, John. But
some armies particular really lend themselves to movement trays. So Skaven,
Grots,
Gloomspike gets some free city builds, just where you got lots of bodies. Just even if you just deploy in the movement trays at less than half the time that you deploy, and then if you need the flexibility in the movement phase, you can move them out from there. But yeah, it just helps a load.
Yeah, it helps out tons. They're available in different places. So there's a company called Minimag. They do these cool little metal ones. You can just get cheap ones. So it depends on your country. So I can't really be really helpful with that. But I'd say movement trays are a great resource as well. Then there are other things because most countries use what are they called? Most people use dice. No, they use arcane scenery.
Okay.
Yeah, so not arcane, but it's not called arcane scenery. Mystical scenery, mysterious scenery.
Yeah.
Is there dice for them yet?
So there are dice for them that you can buy. There are also tokens that you can buy. So there are options, and I'll include all of them in the links below. Options of ways that you can. Nathan, you use a bit of pen and paper.
I use pen and paper, but actually, when I was playing at Blood and Glory, there's a guy that has little badges with them all on, and it's much better because I've played with the dice, but the words are tiny and there's no pictures. But there's badges with the words in big, and then I played against another guy that just had the pictures. That was great.
Even more lacquer.
There's loads. Everybody can have stuff.
Yeah, so there are tokens out there. That's really cool. So I think that's off the top of my head, John. That's pretty much all the resources that I can think of like initially that new or available. Or if I'm thinking about people who are new as well, like what they could do and where they can get things from.
And these are, I mean, as I was mentioning, I'm going on about the clock, but these things are actually super useful when playing on the clock as well. Like super duper useful.
Yeah. Also, another thing that's happened recently, and I want to shout out the Just Play guys for doing this. This is the first time I've experienced it at an event. They predetermined the mystical scenery for a table via maps.
Yeah.
Which was really good. And as TOs or as people around the world, that was something really cool. Saved a lot of time for people, and I found that to be really helpful. Personally, I was a big fan of that.
I agree. I think all those rules, all those new scenery rules, I don't mind them at all. I don't mind there being command point generating scenery rules because the game is so far out there at the moment. It kind of keeps up where the game is at, to be honest.
Yeah.
But having them predetermined when you get to the table, I think is actually a good thing. It takes time and of the players, and I can see myself doing that as a TO moving forward. Absolutely.
Okay, so there's that. And then the guys in the chat saying combat gauges. 6, 3, and 9-inch marker sticks. I think are personally invaluable. I actually think that.
So the 6 one, what do you use the 6 one for?
No, 3 and 9. Sorry, 3 and 9.
3 and 9.
3 and 9 are really good, but I think if you had them all from 3 up to 12, just sticks. They're better to use than tape measures sometimes.
Yeah.
Just for accurate movement. Just so much.
And since
better.
I've been slotting around with different game systems, I've actually bought sticks from Malifaux, so I have them from 3 up to 12.
Yeah, we looked at trying to price up, getting like a whole bulk amount made for the Honest Wargamer, so that we could sell out to people, not like for profit, like obviously for a tiny bit, but really because I personally think that we should advocate for 3 to 12-inch markers to be used. And so combat gauges up to 12 inches, and then we should just ban tape measures. Like I've covered a lot of Warhammer tournaments now, and I've seen some very pro players be very floaty with their tape measure. Now that could be because tape measures are just super inaccurate. It could be because they're not being right with their movement. But let's say it's the worst. Let's say it's the best thing it can be, in that tape measures are just hard to use and they suck. I would argue, for me, that it's that the sticks do away with all of that.
It's a lot more accurate.
Yeah. I mean, there are some measurements that you have to do with a tape measure, like 24 inches and auras that are that big, and I mean, that's what it is, right? But I agree with you, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah, I would personally advocate for using sticks, and if you can find somewhere that sticks somewhere, in the future I would probably argue at a tournament that you should just flat have sticks and no tape measures, like, because Games Workshop haven't thought about that, have they? They haven't thought what's the best thing we can use. They've just gone, we use tape measures, but that's not the best answer. The best answer is sticks, in my opinion.
Or calipers.
Or calipers, or like right. So that's resources. Can you think of anything else?
I mean, I'm happy with the AOS reminders and other stuff.
Having tokens personalized to your army as well for various buffs is always good. So, like, if I put +1 attack, like if I sneaky snuffle up a unit, it's quite good to put a token next to that unit to remind you and to remind your opponent that unit has got a buff on it or a debuff. It's always good to have tokens for that, and also have tokens or objective markers or something like that you can use for putting down the objectives. So those mat things that you were using the other day on the stream, those sort of things would be ideal, really. But
so we've started. So you guys might see on the stream. So a lot of people have been making these, like, this is Canhammer, by the way, great guys, but this is an obnoxious thing. So they've been making this mouse map material objective marker, and that's I just not think particularly good for in the game, especially with a big logo. We're having some designed that have like some scenic design on,
Just gold.
yeah, some gold, like a big pot of gold in the middle, and so it fits in with a map, and so you could buy a map and then you could buy the objective marker, and they work together. But
okay, if you're listening now, BattleMat EU or whatever company you are making mats, you can print money with those.
yeah.
Accompany the objective markers with the mats.
I'd quite
That
like
would
to
be
make
great.
them, but whatever.
Oh, sorry. Don't make them. Don't ever make them. Actually,
but
copyright.
we also experimented with at when we were at Blood Tithe. So James is kind of doing all of our engineering. He's our engineer for the Honest Wargamer. So he's been helping trying to engineer some like clear perspex circular mats for objectives, and they're super useful. Like, so if you can get your hands on them, they change the game. It's so quick. There's no arguing about who's on the objective, how many bodies control it. Like, it's just real quick and real good. And if you don't know what they are, I'll include everything that we've talked about. I'll include in the show notes below to give you a link to, so you guys can see. But Nath, you saw them used firsthand. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I saw them on the stream, so that looked great. It's just cool when you're just moving your models and you just move them in. So just clipping that circle, and then you know that you're nicking the gold from under their feet.
Gold. What's really interesting was seeing people like Dan when we saw his game. So this is during the live stream game. You go watch back at Bloodshed in the Shire. If you go watch the Seraphon play, you saw Dan screening the 6-inch mark because he put his bases just over the lip of the 6 inches, so that he knew exactly where to just put his model without a whole bunch of measuring, John, and therefore saving time like you want as well. Like, there was just he was just like, I put them there because it was a movement 16 pterodons, so super fast. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, now you can't get them to the objective. And it was just really quick and easy to do.
Yeah.
It's like we have the technology.
As a community, we're getting better and better all the time, right? And I think that's really
amazing,
important.
Actually, I'm getting super pumped, to be honest. Like,
so that's for like high-end gaming, really, or if you're doing a lot of gaming, you want to speed up your times, which I think is important.
Practice lifting dice up and throwing them
all day long,
so that you're honed.
Other goths, Team England dice don't work properly, John, but that's a different conversation.
No, I actually saw that one in a WhatsApp group, and honestly, fuck off. I mean, if you're gonna print, I have all my dice have some little thingy on the 6, and I mean, it's either that or casino dice, and I mean, disagree. I think it's more fun with cool dice than having absolutely balanced dice.
Good.
Changed my mind.
What else? Like, so we've gone through like tools, like physical tools that you might need, as well as like writing list tools and information resources. Is there anything you'd like to ask about the state of the game?
Is tournament belt still a thing?
Yes. Well, you can have a belt and then win it.
No, keep your trousers up. Oh. John doesn't like looking at ass crack.
Mm. And sometimes I like showing mine, so it's like I have a conflict of interest, I guess.
Well, so what would you think if we instigated a dungaree style outfit? What do you reckon to dungarees as tournament gear?
Is that like a is that like a onesie?
It's kind of like a onesie. It's kind of like a onesie, but like your arms are way more free. You wear them over the top of. Just type in dungaree.
Oh, like the carpenter thingy.
Yeah, like a redneck. Dungaree.
They look great, man. I would look like there's a famous author in Swedish called Astrid Lindgren who wrote Pippi Longstockings, but she also wrote about a guy who lives on the roof with a propeller on his back called Karlsson on the Roof. I would look exactly like him with one of those on it.
Good.
I will link a picture of Karlsson.
Please do. Nath, have you got any fashion tips for wargamers?
I would say go the other way. Everybody should wear kilts.
Kilts. Okay. And what is it? What does that lend to the wargaming experience, which other outfits don't lend?
Nice flow of air.
Okay. Okay. Is that necessary? Because some people at tournaments, and you guys may not know this, but some people don't wear their shoes and socks.
So if you just wore a kilt, no shoes and socks, you'd be fine.
That would be the most advantageous.
Yeah. Kilt could be optional too, I guess.
What power does that give you?
The power of freedom.
Good. All right. John, as it comes to it, there isn't, and the Sporran is great for holding dice, there isn't currently a fashion trend in Age of Sigmar that you've missed. You know, in about 2002...
Destruction players are still bowlers, right?
They're obviously still ballers. You know how in 2002 everyone wore band t-shirts and cargo shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still,
Nice.
We're still there.
Nice.
We have it. My girlfriend, whenever she walks through Warhammer World, she says, "I saw like 25 people who look like you today, Rob." I was like, "Fuck, that's so rude."
You just scale up and down. Right?
Yeah.
That's why you're banned from eating sugar.
Oh, rude.
Again, Nathan, stop it with the fucking fat shaming.
How dare you, Nathan?
Fucking bald prick. I'm also getting bald, by the way.
Okay, do you want to get into where we're at in the state of the game? Do you want to go through some armies and how they might play?
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to go through the newer ones.
Okay. Well, do you want us to work backwards or like? Do you want...
The orcs, the new orcs.
Okay, Nath, do you want to field this? You got any thoughts?
The New Orcs. So yeah, they're a strong book. They're real contenders, I think, in a tournament.
I've heard that you can charge in the opponent's charge phase.
You can.
Yes, you can do that with a certain variety of them, which is particularly strong.
Feels tactically good.
Yeah.
Spontaneously.
But it's not necessarily the only list that comes out of that book. There's lots of really good lists in the Auric War Clans book.
So how have the Stormcast list changed?
Oh, hold on. We're not finished there, I don't think, because I actually would argue that of the three allegiances, you can take three allegiances. You can take Bone Splitters, Big War, and Iron Jaws. I'd say that based on stats, but also from personal experience, having seen it, I think that Big War is the strongest.
Yeah, okay. Where you include all of them.
Yeah. So that's Big War with Ard Boys specifically, because being able to have Ard Boys with 2+ to hit, 2+ to wound, Rend 1 damage 2 is just bonkers.
That's really good. That's not the Ard Boys I remember at all. And as I've heard, it's quite easy to get those buffs off.
Yeah,
it is. But then Iron Jaws have a way around the activation wars in smashing and bashing. So your trade-off is...
and they're the only ones that can charge in your opponent's charge phase, which is, like you mentioned, that's a really strong mechanic.
Super strong, yeah. So I think your trade-up when you look at that book, and I also think Bone Splitters, now having looked at them a lot more, I think that they're a terrible... They're not great. If I had to rate them good, bad, medium, or good, I'd put them as only medium. From seeing play and having conversations, but that's just an opinion, it's not a fact, and people can change.
I think they might be harder to get results with, but I think they're still good.
Yeah,
I think they might be more nuanced. So, like with a lot of things, some of the power in some of the factions is very obvious, and so it's quite easy to take advantage of. And so you'll see those armies doing really well. But then some of the other armies that appear to be weaker have actually got nuanced strengths, and in the hands of the right player, they'll be really good and can probably beat a smashing army. Just because it's more, they've got more tools to hand, but they're just not as obvious.
Okay, fair enough.
So
go on, John.
I've heard that shooting is actually back for real? Question mark.
A question mark. Okay, so one of the issues in the game, obviously, since you left, was the activation wars, right? You had Always Strikes First, Flesh Eater Courts, and then you had Slanesh. So that was had a big impact in the gaming. So we've seen a variety of different players and different styles try to take that on. So we've seen Shootcast. So that would be Stormcast armies that are doing shooting, and based on tournament results, they haven't done it. They're not, because while they might be good into things like Flesh Eater Courts or Slanesh, and when we should probably just quickly talk about Slanesh and talk about what they are. And Slanesh is almost always max heroes, so that you get baked in depravity points because each hero is worth its wounds -1 as depravity. And normally in Supreme Cyberites, which allows you to just have characters, it's normally a triple keeper, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just 2. And they're normally around the 4-drop mark. So that's the prevailing threat, and is the best performing army in the game at 68% at the minute. So Shootcast are quite good into the Slanesh units, but the issue is they're not good enough, and they're terrible matchups into Gits. Like, that's just a really shit matchup for them. They're good into Khorne as well, and Khorne are really popular as an army, but they still get. Go on.
You're saying it's basically that Shootcast is more of a team tournament army rather than a singles tournament.
I don't think it's even viable now, really. But that's just my thoughts, going in.
Different bits are viable in different settings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some bits you see in team tournaments that you won't see in singles, overall.
Yeah, so which is why you'll see, if you want a more polarized shooting list, so that what we started to see was the 9 Stormfiend list occur. So we've seen varieties of that. We've seen 9 Stormfiends and we've seen 6 Stormfiends run with the Vigor Dust Injector and the Warpstone Spark. So they get +1 damage, they get to reroll to hit and reroll to wound on everything that 9 can kick out. So crazy.
You've even seen 18 Stormfiends.
We've even seen 18 Stormfiends in one place.
Quite terrifying.
Which is quite terrifying. But as much as it's reductive to say so, what a lot of people have done to beat them, and they haven't won lots of tournaments. That's really important. They've won some. Big shout out to Clems, who won the Hero Phase GT. But he had Plague Monks in there as well. He also had some other elements, and I think he only had the 6 Stormfiends in his list. So that's the shooting, which is, if we're talking about shooting, that's the shooting that exists.
Oh, and obviously Cities of Sigmar.
Perfect. Yeah. Until we get to Cities of Sigmar. Do you want to tell us about that, Nate?
Yeah, so Cities of Sigmar, you've got, obviously, so you've got units like Handgunners, Iron Drakes, the proper scary shooting units, and there's some others like the crossbows and stuff like that. But I think, and then obviously they can take Stormcast, and the Stormcast gain the Cities of Sigmar keyword. So really good for.
But they're Hellers of the Storm, so they can't deep strike in and stuff if you play them in Cities of Sigmar.
No, but they can, if you take them in the Living City, they can still ambush in. Or if you take them in Tempest Eye, their movement increases the first turn and stuff, which is when you want to be fast ready. So and
they can run and shoot.
Yeah, they can. There is a run and shoot command ability in there as well. Whereas the Living Cities one, you can shoot and then move after you've ambushed and stuff like that. So there's some pretty scary lists, I think, still to come. So particularly Tempest Eye and Living City lists, I think. Possibly the Greywater Fastness, which is supposed to be the shooty thing, but I think
I think Hallowheart. So we saw Tom
Hallowheart, obviously, you've got the ranged output, but if you combine the shooting with the ranged magic output that you can generate,
you have 2 shooting phases effectively.
Then you can really lay down the hurt. So yeah.
I
then if you do take the Greywater Fastness, which is one that buffs your war machines, then that's where you'd be looking at the Stormcast war machines going into there, because they'll gain that city keyword, and then they'll become pretty scary in that, the ballistas in there. So,
I've actually gotten a rules question regarding the Hello Heart, and I'm glad now that I ruled it correctly. But it's regarding interaction with the Cyclones of the Storm. No, like a AoE frying spell that the Gaunt Summoner has interacting with the spell portal that is empowered.
Yeah.
And seeing the new Bone Reapers FAQ, it's I'd say it's the correct ruling.
Good. Well, so yeah, talking about shooting then and carrying on with that, because I think that's a good theme. We go into Hallowheart, where we saw Tom at Blood and Glory. It's quite a large field, 124 players. Huge percentage of Slanesh. Slanesh actually rocked away from that tournament with 10% of the meta. They were 10% of the armies there, and they had a 70% win rate. So like they don't win. So what we saw with Daughters of Cain was a low player base that won really well. They won a lot. With Slanesh, we see a lot of players win with Slanesh, regardless of who they are. However, sorry, say that again.
They are the Gristlegore now, basically.
Yeah, but however, we saw with Hallowheart, we saw Tom go 5-0, 10,000 kill points, 0 victory points to his opponents. So he took the whole thing out, and that was 30 handgunners, 30 crossbows, a Hurricaneum, like Nathan's saying, and a Stormcast ally, because you were talking about potentially doing Stormcast inside cities, Stormcast ally with the Comet, just doing terrifying damage. So that's more mortal wound output at range, as well as the range blocks.
yeah, that's the point actually. When you're talking about shooting, things like the Hurricaneum and the Luminarch, but I think the Hurricaneum is still
really good.
Yeah,
really good.
An awesome war machine.
Poor, so I'll probably change that.
Yeah, they have changed it. They have changed it. It just does D3 mortal wounds per one on a 2+. So you do 3d3 mortal wounds. But the big damage I think that comes from the Hurricaneum is Nathan's favorite spell that the Gits got stolen from them, which is Chain Lightning, which does D3 mortal wounds per unit. And then every unit within 6 inches of that unit on a 4+ takes another D3 mortal wounds. So you combo that with Elemental Cyclone, which is another AoE spell, which Hallowheart have access to, and Comet. You can potentially be doing D3 mortal wounds from Comet to everything within 10, and then you can pick a unit and do 2d3 mortal wounds to it, and then everything within 6 of that unit is going to be taking another 2d3 mortal wounds on a 4+. So, like, it's just pretty scary, realistically. It's just a big AoE bomb.
I mean, I'm just because of those types of spell, I'm looking into playing like MSU. So when they will fry something, it don't fry as much. But then the Comet will obviously hurt more. So it's like a give and take.
Yeah.
But I bought Aventis Firestrike actually. And I'm planning to do something with him. I don't know if it's optimal. Probably not. That's not how I roll.
So also talking about shooting, but kind of like involved in that, because we're talking about the new armies, right? In my opinion, the best shooting army in the game, not the best shooting army in the game, but probably the newest shooting army in the game is more tribes.
Oh yeah.
So there's a tribe called the Underguts, and I think you're regularly going to see in an Underguts army, you're going to see 4 Iron Blasters. 4 Iron Blasters. Yeah. You're going to see rerolling. You can see an item that allows you to reroll to hit. So that's going to be really positive because they hit on 4s. They're going to shoot twice because they're in Underguts because of an artifact, and then you're going to see hordes of Noblars that are immune to battle shock. And potentially also some lead belchers, but that's me who thinks there's
like the only thing that I think take that like from being super duper good is the fact that it's D6 damage on the, even though it's 8 shots, it's still D6 damage. Mm-hmm. So I think the average isn't too good. Obviously, there will be games where they just blast something off, and there will be games when they just do nothing in the shooting phase. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when you have that type of what do you call it? Like, it's not stable. It's like a big
variance. A big variance.
There will be some games where you get fucked over by it, probably. But on the paper, yeah, it's really strong. I feel like.
Yeah. So I think, but interestingly, at Krieglusten, when we're there are no Underguts armies, and there are loads of Blood Gullet armies.
Yeah, exactly. I don't just think people didn't have. I mean, there are some main chasers in Sweden. None of them are ogre players, as I know, as far as I know. So I mean, if some of them would go for it, I probably think they would have brought the cannons. But I think the ogre players that we have over here are just baller destruction players who like their ogres and haven't had time to speed paint up all the new juicy toys.
So yeah, so I think that's covered the shooting, unless there's something else I missed.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Skaven.
Skaven have obviously still got shooting
Yeah,
and shooting, and there's still the cunning rock is still a thing, really.
still a thing.
Yeah.
It's not quite what it was.
No.
Doesn't generate as much shooting, like
Yeah.
infinite shooting.
Yeah, no, it's limited. You still get exploding sixes, but the unit sizes are limited to 20 bowmen now. And obviously they're still not the best at. I don't think they were.
So when you have that amount of attacks or shooting, have dice apps been accepted by the community yet?
I haven't seen them used too often, which I think is a shame. But like, no, we haven't seen them adopted. So,
But you don't often see cunning rocks anyway.
no, you don't
so-
often see them. No, I think the labor of playing armies like that puts a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So I think the time management issue that a lot of people are talking about, or that you're talking about specifically, John, I don't think really exists. It only really exists from selfish players, because it's people who are intentionally turning up with an army that they don't intend to finish games with, or they're not putting themselves under the pressure to do so.
Yeah.
I don't think that theme really exists.
Well, we've solved that problem, so that's good, I guess.
Good. There is also the Sylvaneth book also came out, and that has got a bow build.
Has it got any players though?
It's got some players.
I mean,
less every day.
If you go Kickstarter, it's like, but it's quite a few Sylvaneth players compared to. I mean, there used to be, even with an old book. I mean, I think it's probably less now, and it feels like to me, it is because of the shit show of the release of Sylvaneth. They didn't get the hype that they deserved.
I don't think that's the case. I just think the book is just real bad. Like, it's really challenging to play with. It's really hard to do well with. That nuanced power that Nathan was talking about, I don't think really exists inside of the book, because every time you make your clever play, you're turning up with something that is points wise not as efficient as the thing that you're trying to clever play against. And we've seen, like, I did a bit of a deep dive on one of the stat shows about Sylvaneth. We've only seen them podium the one time in this General's Handbook, which is quite different to last year. But they're struggling generally. They give up a lot of depravity when they take a lot of Kurnoth Hunters. Most of their characters don't stand up versus the other characters. Like Durthu's cool, right? Durthu's awesome, but he's way better in Living City than he ever is inside of a Sylvaneth book.
Okay.
So there are some. Dudo Shotgate says, "Hey, I'm picking tree rollers right now. I'm so sorry, brother. I'm so sorry."
But if you're the dude that podiums, you'll be a god.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you just got to see it as a challenge, not as a.
Yeah, because obviously somebody has podiumed at a tournament with them, so
It's just the one.
he's a god.
He is a god.
It feels like
Tree god.
From the review that we did on the book, Rob, it felt like they should struggle against hordes. And it feels like if they should podium, the hordes shouldn't be there because of like stuff like Living Cities, maybe not Sylvaneth. So if they podium, it's because other armies determine what other types of armies are there. If you get what I mean.
I mean, actually, they're in a worse spot as of the OCR Bone Reapers release than they've ever been, because obviously what they want to do is get minimum drops so they can put their Sylvaneth Wildwood, so their trees somewhere so they can teleport through. They obviously can't put it within a range now of terrain, like, because the scenery rules, you can't put within a range of X or Y. So with some clever placement of your OCR Bone Reaper Bone Tide Nexus, you'll just be able to just zone out where their trees can go at all for like a proportion of the game. So they're a terrain-based army with the worst terrain placing rules.
Yeah, and are they as reliable as they used to be on those woods being in the correct places, or
No,
have
that's
that?
the point, right? There's not the room. That's what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes yes, but I just don't
But they
generally.
still need. They're still. I mean, the edition we had before of Silvernet were really reliable on having the woods out,
Yeah.
and is the new one
Well, because
as
they would go first, right?
yeah.
Yeah, but now they can't guarantee going first.
But do they still need the woods as
They
much?
still
Or
need the woods as much as they used to
Not
need
if you
them.
take the Dreadwood, because you've got an automatic teleport.
Yeah.
So there's builds around that, and you tend to see that. We saw Laurie try and do that at LGT. We saw him also try and do it at Blood Tithe. I've also seen the wonderful Owen Jackson working hard to make that army work. There's a bunch of other Sylvaneth players as well. If I haven't mentioned you, I'm sorry. But they just don't. They don't perform. Their win rate's nearly at 40%. Like it's low.
Okay, yeah.
It's really low,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of people trying really
I
hard.
should play Silvernet then. Shit.
you're making them sound more and more tempting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They sound great. Okay. What else? So we haven't talked about Bone Reapers. Would you like to know about them?
As Louis said, and by looking at the list, I think Sweden bought all of the Mortar Guard that's out there.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, they're a real resilient army with quite good shooting, really good shooting.
That's if you
And-
take the shooting.
Yeah, okay. So there are some nuances to them.
Yeah, like Nathan. What are your
Speaking top meta, of course.
what are your thoughts? You played against them. I played with them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they seem to be a real elite army because all of the units are, pretty good for what they are. But then, obviously, as a result of that, you don't get as many models on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Good.
which is fair enough. But the models you do get on the board are pretty scary, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've just got to. It's a bit like playing against Fire Slayers, I reckon. Except it's not. It doesn't have to be concentrated in a blob, although it could be. But yeah.
I think that brings us on to I think the thing that Nathan's talking about there, which I think is super fair, is there's a lot of wounds on the board if you build it with Mortec Guard heavy with a 3-up armor save, a rerollable 3-up armor save in combat, which is that's just a lot with the ability to heal them in, and then you've got some strong shooting potentially. You've also got some strong magic maybe, but for me that army composition is where it's weak is it can't handle MSU. Because it can't. It plays. Nathan's right. It plays, I think, similar to Fire Slayers, and we should talk about those in a moment. But what it doesn't do, it's not able to clear those little 5-man Kinry Heartrender units off because they've got the 30 block fighting something, and they've sent their 2 units of Cavalos Death Riders up the board, and they're in their opponent's grill, which is cool. But it's 10, maybe 5 bodies near an objective. And they do good damage. But they can't hit armor very well. They've got Rend 1 in the army. If they're in Petrifex Elite, then their guard units could be Rend 2. So battle line units with Rend 2. So they can do really well. It's hard to pin them in. I don't know, man. It's a thing. I think it's going to be a thing.
Adam, I'm gonna be sorry for saying this, but he's arguably one of Sweden's best, if not the best player at the moment. And he's bringing them, and I think he has like big blocks of the Mortar Guard and Catacross and some catapults. And I think the catapults, they look really effective to take out support heroes, and most of the times that is how you win Age of Sigmar. Remove the heroes, right?
Kill the characters is still a thing.
Yeah, that's still a thing.
Yeah,
that's still a thing.
And with Catacross buffing the Mortar Guard, they're quite killy as well, as I understand it.
So I think the real power that we'll see over the next few months is people are going to move on to Stalkers, because those things are genuinely terrifying. But there's loads to look at with that army, and it's still too new to call it. But I don't think they're mental. I think they're just really strong.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a similar power level to like Fire Slayers, that sort of thing.
Good point. So Fire Slayers. John, have you played Fire Slayers?
Yeah, I have before I left, and they feel like the gatekeeping army 101. You don't want to get them on the wrong scenario if you're going for a 5-0 or a 6-0,
Yeah.
because then you might be disappointed.
They don't die. They don't die.
They
So
don't die, but they tend to stay in their deployment zone as well most of the time.
well, so that's what's really interesting. So the Fire Slayer block, or the armies that you've seen, and for new people, like it's normally 30 Hearthguard Berserkers, and they do really well at tournaments, super well. 4-1, 5-0s, very often. They don't normally win tournaments, lots, but they do super well. But it's a build, and you see it
Yeah.
all the time. And like once you play it once, you can play it a ton of times. But so yeah, but they do really, really well, and something you have to think about playing against. Nath,
Yeah.
that brings us on to something that young Jonathan may not have fought against yet. Gotrek Gunderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been released, and he's allowed in any order army, John. Nathan,
Even though he's above 400, right?
Yeah.
So what do you, Nathan? You've used him in the game, and what do you think of
Oh,
him?
I've played against him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not managed to use him yet, although I've got mine painted up. I managed to find him. I had lost him for a while, but he was hiding in amongst the spider riders. I found him. No, he's scary. There are obviously he can be managed. He's only movement 4.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen some Idonet is taking Iron Orc and with Gotrek to boost his movement a little bit.
yeah, so he can buff his movement, but yeah, there's not many ways you can get him to move faster. Some people might take him with cogs, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
But
I mean,
he
he is
killing machine,
yeah,
right?
he's pretty tanky, and anything he touches, he pretty much kills.
That's great.
So he's great. Yeah, he's that drama you were talking about.
Mm.
He's a little bundle of drama, but
Nice.
but he can die.
He can.
Yeah.
He absolutely can die.
Well, he can retire from the board to go and have a few babies. Be back later.
But he is absolutely just smashing it up, and he's doing quite well. He's in a lot of order lists. Some people are taking him as like clever choices inside lists. Sylvaneth looking for that punching power of one of those armies that have been included in him, because they can screen well and they can beat stuff up. But we haven't seen many Gotrek wins on the board. So if you can feed him enough chaff, he can't fly, then that might be the way to deal with him.
I've heard you can just surround him with endless spells.
You can. He's also doesn't fly, so yes, you could put him. You can trap him in with one Soul Snare Shackles and win the game.
Scuttle Tide.
Yeah, it's Scuttle Tide or block him from pretty much going anywhere. So yeah, he struggles to endless spells. That gets us on to a really good point, which is endless spells. So since you left, they nerfed Vortex a bit, but it's still very viable in the game. So that's a game 1. I would say we're also seeing a huge return by the Comet. So the Aether Blaze Comet for Stormcast Eternals is probably one of the most common spells that you're going to see in, especially Hallowheart armies, but I think inside Living City armies. I don't know why you wouldn't take a Lord Arcanum plus a Comet, because it just makes an army not be able to deploy around itself. So like a Gitz army usually deploys around itself. You're not going to
I hate playing against it. I mean, then you have to. I mean, I think as a Gitz player, you can't be arsed because you have that 4-up DPR on the shamans, or on the good shamans at least. So I tend to just don't care about the combat, but
you can zone the combat out with your big blocks anyway. So it's not too bad. So it can't hit your characters.
But it's not a fun spell to play against. I think it's most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time it's more of a psychological weapon than an actual weapon.
Yes, but I think it also is an actual weapon.
I mean, it has the potential to be, of course. Don't get me wrong, but it affects your opponent's deployment before you even try to cast the spell. So
I think it's going to be one of the things that we see very common in the future, right? So you're going to see that a lot. I think So and then other endless spells, Scuttletide is a big winner. Malevolent Moon for Gits. You often see that in Gits armies.
Yeah, I love that spell. It's so good. I think it was so overlooked by the Gits community at the start, and it's probably the best spell that they have. Apart from Scuttletide, I think that's the real winner of the book, actually.
Yeah.
But Nate, do
The
you think
Arachne Cauldron is become super popular as well.
Do you think
I've never played the Arachne Cauldron.
Really good.
Do you think we're seeing more endless spells in the game?
Yeah, I don't know what the Ossiarch ones are like.
So there's one that gives you there's one that's rubbish. Then there's one that gives everyone within 12 inches +1 to hit. It's quite good, but you're limited on the number of casts you take depending on how you build it. I'd say that you more than often maybe going to see Arcan in there just because you can cast 3 spells and unbind 3 spells, which is cool. But the scary build is when you put Nagash in, and then he's got the ability to do. There's a spell that's able to do damage in AOE around him. And that's where it's going to, in my opinion, get quite scary. But they're not. They're not. Yeah, they're not a very.
Than ever.
Yeah, they're not a very caster-heavy army. They don't do a lot of casting because they're spending so much points on their really good units.
Yeah,
They're quite elite.
take Nagash or Arcan.
Yeah, unless they're fully invested in there, and then it's Arcan or Nagash with pluses to cast, and casting quite a few just for their kind of like level. So they're either a caster army or they're a real caster army or they're not a caster army at all. Obviously then, Jonathan, there's Hallowheart, the best casting army in the game.
Yeah, I heard rumors of +8. You can confirm or
so you can do you can use the command ability more than once if you want to. So you can give plus you can get up to whatever you want really. Just pick a number. Not quite, but effectively you can auto cast spells. So you use the command point from Hallowheart, command ability from Hallowheart to generate pluses to cast. So if you're looking to build an anti-magic list, it's just not possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're playing anyone.
Maybe.
No one. I don't think.
Yeah, well, Khorne, if they do an unmodified 8,
it just stops it. Yeah.
it just kills the council basically. I think.
Yeah, but you can't army build into that, right? Like you can't be like, I'm gonna roll an 8.
Oh, that's happened.
I mean, if you're playing Khorne,
my wizard like.
if you're playing Khorne, there's literally no reason not to take the skulls, right? Because of the potential to do that. Because, I mean, it's Warhammer, right? But as I understand it, they take damage, right? But they all have they have the ignite scale, so they ignore it, and then they just.
So they do mortal wounds themselves for the command ability. They heal it with the spell that they have, and also could have ignite scales to just ignore the spells the spell damage anyway. So there's now a casting army that basically can auto cast spells. Not quite, but can, and that's a Hallowheart army. So that's new, and that's kind of interesting. But I don't think if we've seen generally more endless spells across the board.
How about the Scoot and the Bridge?
So Bridge we've seen a lot in Cities of Sigmar armies.
Yeah, in the Hallowheart. So that's where that shooting just puts their shooting wherever it wants. Because obviously all of their spells are empowered as well. So they're just flying around the place.
So the Bridge goes 24 inches as opposed to 12. Yeah, really strong. And we're also seeing the Bridge inside those Skaven Stormfiend armies.
Yeah. Dropping
the Stormfiends outside of 9 inches and then just unloading. And then we've seen previously also, we've seen 9 Kurnoth Hunters go into a unit of Stormfiends, kill 4, and then the Stormfiends killed them back in close combat and then shot the other 6. So they are really, really good, right? The Bridge we see quite a bit for utility for those shooting armies. I still think we see Gemini's. Balewind Vortex, I think, is also like a pretty common theme, especially in those Iron Jaws and Big War armies. I don't know about Bone Splitters armies, but I think generally. So they're shooting. And then I think the other thing we have to talk about, which has always been in Age of Sigmar, is alpha combat. So there's quite a lot of that.
Alpha combat. Like turn 1 smash.
Yeah, turn 1 smash. So, and we've got some...
Iron Jaws, maybe, or...
Well, so yeah, Slanesh, because they'll have a Thermal Rider Cloak Keeper of Secrets that will just go and get you. There's still Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist. They still have a crazy win percentage. They're at 58%. That's right. They're still at 58%, so they can still do the work, right? And run across the board. If they charge, they still always strikes first. because they're charging, and they can run and charge. So they're still very, very good. So alpha combat from them, alpha combat from Slanesh, and we're seeing it from Iron Jaws with the War Tribe, and then obviously Idneth Deepkin, who are sat at a nice place, and they're still doing that deep strike charge. Although with the most successful build we've seen, obviously recently, has been Luke Morton's with the MSU eels as opposed to multiple eels.
Yeah.
Big blocks of eels. Sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Luke is a black belt. I do that black belt, I'd say.
And I think
I was like, well, I played Luke. Remember up? I was like, yeah, the build doesn't really look much to the world, but I mean, he plays it really good. Really, really good.
So I think that's all of the. I think that's the place. That's all the play styles we're seeing out there at the minute, right? There aren't as many swamp lists, so that's lists that just put wounds in your deployment so that you can't fight out of your deployment, as we would see sometimes with plague bearers at one stage. I think we'll also see a bunch of flying stonehorns running around beating people up, and some flying maw crushers just running into your face. So what I'm trying to say is there are some armies. The maw crusher is an amazing example. The maw crusher is an example of someone can put that on the board, and if you don't have a screen, you can just lose most of your army in the first turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
thing.
fucking
Well, not
great,
most
man.
of your army. Not most of your army, but like
the heart of your army.
yeah, it'll be right inside your army because it can move twice.
Yeah.
So that's just now it's moving 24 inches, and then it's charging. Like
That's fucking great.
And when
man.
it hits something, it hits something.
yeah, it
Cool.
hits all the way. Yeah, it's really serious. Like it's as good as Gold King on Terror. It's not as good as Gold King on Terror, guys, but it's good.
It's better.
But so yeah, you have to prep whatever list you've got. You're going to have to prep for alpha combat, otherwise you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, screens
Yeah.
are still look.
But it
still
feels
good.
it feels a bit rock paper scissors a bit.
Yeah, lizard, Spock, all of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
fucking temple.
Fucking temple, whatever that is.
What do you think about the state of the game at the minute, Nath? Like overall?
Yeah, seems fun. There's
Yeah.
loads of things that can happen. Nobody knows. I mean, corner's still an alpha combat. Corner's still one of those things. It's just crazy.
And you really believe in them, right?
Yeah. They're pretty scary. They are, I reckon. Still not quite sure on why people take the combos that they do, but yeah, they're great. The bloodthirster in your face sort of thing, or some people are taking Archeon, some people are taking what's his name? Scarface.
Scarbrand.
Scarbrand.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah.
And
They
you
can-
really believe in
they
that,
can
that
power
corn
them up.
army?
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, they're
doing
still
quite
a
few
really
4 and
popular army.
1s, aren't they? So with those lists,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're very popular at the minute, actually. Super popular at the minute. Loads of corn armies. They might become the second most popular army in the game soon. Which is what do you think the second most popular army in the game at the minute is, John? So obviously first is
first is-
Stormcast.
Oh, still Stormcast. Okay.
Although they're at the lowest they've been in 2 years.
Okay, so they need a new book soon then.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably go with. Oh, this is hard now. I'm going with the greenskins because everybody have greenskins.
Okay, so the Uruk War Tribes. Nath, do you know what the answer is?
I think I know from the show.
Yeah.
You told me the other day. Yeah. Skaven.
Skaven.
Oh, Skaven, yeah, right.
Which actually blows my mind. Like,
Why?
just because they're just a super hard army to put on the tabletop. Like
Who the hell would want like rats?
It doesn't because they didn't get any new models, so people just have them.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't know if they had them ready to go, right? Like as builds. But yeah, really popular. Really, really popular. So that's interesting. Stormcast's the most popular as well, but we've seen a huge drop off for Legions of Nagash. They're only half as popular as they were last year.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting kind of like thought bit.
Yeah. Have flesh eaters taken up the slack on that a bit, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, they're really popular still. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the people transitioned over to Flesh Eaters, and then Legion of Grief, and
Oh, is that not included in the Legion of Nagash?
no,
The Legion of
no,
Grief
they
is
specifically stated in an FAQ that they are a different allegiance.
separate. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So that's the state of the game, I think, as we know it, and all of the different. I don't know if there's a lot of anything else. There's a lot of team tournaments now. That's the
That's
thing.
good. We had one in Sweden, 64 players.
Amazing. So there's a lot of team tournaments. Nathan, you're in a team, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you read their messages?
Sometimes.
John, what do you think of team tournaments?
I think they're great. I think if you haven't gone to one, you should go. It's probably I think they're the best way to play Warhammer.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Well, other than playing in your underpants or not in your underpants.
Ever.
I will my underpants now.
So, have you got any more questions?
No, it feels like one positive thing is it feels like there's more contenders to the trophies now than there were when I left. The power has increased for sure, but it seems to have increased like overall.
Yeah. I mean, Slanesh is still a standout one at the moment. So, but yeah. But yeah,
then again, I think we have 10 Free Cities armies on the tournament this weekend, and I don't think we have had that many like before. So we'll see. Interesting to see how they handle the Slanesh stuff.
I think enough shooting will actually put pay to them, but it's whether or not you can is the kind of thing. And also a Slanesh double turn basically is game over.
And I mean the Ogre Mortars, I think that Cannon build have a really good shot against Slanesh. I think.
Yeah. People are painting up hordes of Grots. I think it's going to be an interesting. They are Grots.
And I mean, they can shoot them turn one, and if they go in the Gnoblars, they can still just take them out afterwards. So.
Yeah, you got some great screens in the Ogre book. The More Tribes. They've just got access to screens. They've got access to shooting. Lead Belchers is solid, and then you've got a Maw Crusher equivalent in the Stonehorn. I mean, he's good. So I think you've actually got a little bit more flexibility in the Maw Tribe book than you do in the War Clan book. So it'd be interesting to see how they come along.
But I think unfortunately with the Maw Tribe book, you have to build it in that way. Like you say, they've got shooting if you build into the shooting. Like otherwise, it's just unsustainable. But they've got counter charge.
So you can mix it up. So like in a War Clan book, you could take 5 units of Ard Boys and a couple of wizards and stuff like that. But then imagine you could just say, 2 of those units of Ard Boys have got guns.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, you're right.
So
you're right.
I think it would be interesting to see what comes out of the book. I think their monsters are pretty scary, and I do think they've got flexibility in the other stuff. Iron Guts are still good, still pretty scary. They've all gained +1. Well, there's not all of them, but they've gained some pluses to hit. They've got interesting mechanics with hunters and ambushing units as well. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that book performs because I don't think it's blatantly obvious again. I think.
It's going to be really interesting. All right, well, with the internet dying, this is no longer live.
Died again. Oh, no.
Well, no, it's been dying, it died like 4 times. So this video will be on YouTube, and obviously it's a podcast also. So big thank you to everyone for listening. I'll do my goodbyes in a minute. But before I do that, you got any kind of for new players or people returning or want to return? You got any thoughts, Nath? Generally?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a fun game. Just go and play some fun games with some fun people. And, yeah.
So I'd say actually the most interesting stat, John, that you may not have heard since last year is that the number of events over this period of time compared to last year has not just increased a bit, it's doubled.
Oh man, like it's actually following the Games Workshop stock then.
Yeah, like it's doubled. Like there are twice as
Yeah,
many
nice.
people. Yeah, there is twice as many people playing Age of Sigmar as there were a year ago. Like, and
How good isn't that, man?
that's the best bit, I think. Like, because that just means more
Yeah.
people to get drunk with, more people to have a laugh with.
Yeah.
So like that's probably the biggest positive and the best bit to say for new people. And for new people, you're going to be part of that wave of people coming in, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
You'll be like, someone will say, "Oh man, you're going to get grop locked," and they're going to be like, "What does that mean?" Like, that's great. That's really fun. And obviously, like you guys in Sweden are just about to show an example of that, right? An event that's gone from 50 to 100 people in a year.
What's it called again?
I know it's insane.
Craigleston.
Yeah. It's yeah. I'm not even gonna bother. I mean, it's amazing. I think it's the fires have been lit for sure. Like everybody and their mom are attending this event. It's super cool. We couldn't. I don't think we could have dreamt of 100 people last year. We were thinking that maybe we can get some more, but not that much more. But it also made us like get in contact with a hotel. So now we have a great venue. Hopefully that will support us through the years. So we'll allow the tournament to grow if needed. But I mean, it's just it's blossoming. It's super good, and we're great to see a lot of new players as well, probably that I haven't seen. So looking forward to it a lot. And it's great to be back, because as I said before, like if you have a break, I mean the things you will miss the most is the people, right? So it's super good to be back.
Cool.
Well, I've missed you.
I miss you too.
Nathan, do you want to show some emotion?
Oh, fuck you.
The only way Nathan can show emotion is in a dungeon with ropes.
Could it be truer? Could it be truer? All right. Well, listen, if you've been listening live, then I apologise about the internet. One day we will have a studio. One day with internet and a roof. If you're watching back on YouTube or you listen to the podcast, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you. And if you are on Patreon and or you subscribe on Twitch, you support the show, I just want to say a massive thank you and love for letting us do this. And yeah, we might be inside of a hovel, but it's a pleasure to be able to do it even from here, and that's thanks to you guys. So big love and shout out to you guys. Nathan, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, sir.
You're an angel. Jonathan, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks.
Love you all loads. See you soon and goodbye.
Ciao.
Bye.